Come on with it, baby!
Hello, and thank you for tuning into another edition of the Third Emanuel Podcast. I am Pat Bruknis. You can find me on Twitter at Pat_Bruknis. I'm here with our special guest, Do Neffy. You can find him at Twitter at Do_Neffy. And before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. At Ilio de Paolo's, they have the greatest Italian food in Western New York. If you don't believe me, try it for yourself. They are located at 3785 South Park Avenue, Blaisdell, New York, 14219. And also Sons of Erie, you can also get the Do Champion merchandise, like the one I'm wearing, the paintings and everything, and much more. And we're also sponsored by Hamburg Brewing. Make sure to go to their tap room for all your favorite drinks, which is located at 6553 Boston State Road, New York. Oh my goodness, 14075. And also Beauty Pools. Their experienced designers and experts craftsmen will create whatever design you want. And their website is www.beautypools.com. Notes picked up on me there. So, Neffy, how you doing today?
Good, man. Good, man. Way to get through those sponsors, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That was a tough one, man. I appreciate you having me on. And
No problem.
light of Matt and Student not being able to make it tonight, you guys can call on your DGen whenever you need to.
Yep. Now, do you want to tell everybody what you do with Do Champions and your new show?
Yeah, so we're going to be launching No One to Blame. We're aiming for August. I'm going to be gambling centered, so everything gambling. We'll be talking about NFL futures, weekly NFL bets, and what we like. We'll be covering all sports. You can find me right now on X at Do_Neffy, and we'll be putting out daily plays. We've been doing that for a few weeks now, and had some ups, had some downs. Hit a plus 2,000 parlay the other night. So check the page, check out our record, and see how we're doing.
Yep, it's time to bounce back with that $10 to $10,000.
Yeah,
it's time to bounce back.
A little bit of a struggle. We're taking a pause on that one, but we'll be back.
Be back stronger. Yeah. The first part of the show, we're just gonna go over three phases of the Buffalo Bills football: offense, defense, and special teams. Neffy, where do you want to start?
I think we got to start with the offense, Pat.
I agree.
The most topical. It's had probably arguably the most turnover, most noteworthy turnover.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I look at the wide receiver room to start. You lose 191 targets between Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Now you bring in guys like Chase Claypool, who hasn't done much since playing with Ben Roethlisberger back in 2019 and 2020. That was the last time he played with I don't want to say legit quarterback, but that was towards the tail end of Ben Roethlisberger's career. But that was the last time he played with a solid quarterback, because then he went to Chicago and played with Justin Fields and then Tua for the 4 games where they tried moving him to tight end. So I don't really count Miami.
No, I don't think anyone even remembers that happened.
No, I know I don't. I remember the one play, seeing him on the field against Miami when we played Miami Week 18, and Tua threw a pick. So,
yeah, exactly.
So, we bring in a guy like Marcus Valdes-Scantling as well, who people are worried about his drops, but come playoff time, his hands are good. Like, he caught the go-ahead touchdown, I believe, before overtime to force overtime against the Niners in the Super Bowl. So that's just I like that signing a lot. He's been one of the best deep threats since joining the league. He's played with Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, man. I think it brings us that kind of stretch the field ability. We haven't seen something like that probably since John Brown.
Right.
And even if he wasn't used maybe as well as we all wanted him to be, he was at least opening up the defense, giving Josh a better look.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then we get another year of a resurging Khalil Shakir, who continues to work out Eric Moulds. And we saw last year he had one of the highest catch rates in the NFL, if not the highest. Then look what he did in the playoffs and what he did down the stretch in the final 10 games. Khalil Shakir, I think he's going to be Josh Allen's number 1 target, personally, out of the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean he already has the connection with him. He was in the second half of last year what we needed Stephon Diggs to be. Let's just call it what it is. When Steph dropped
Right.
that catch against KC, I mean, what are we paying you for, buddy? Like
No,
So to have someone like Khalil step up the second half of the season like he did, I mean, it's only his connection with Josh is only going to grow. I mean, so it's hard to see him not being the quote unquote number one wide receiver this year.
Right. And I have the stats right here from the final 10 games for the Buffalo Bills. Diggs had 80 targets, 422 yards, to where Khalil Shakir had 37 targets, 462 yards. So way less targets, but 40 more yards.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, listen, obviously, opposing defenses caught on to what we were doing, started bracketing Diggs, but if you are a true number one wide receiver, you get open. It is what it is. So I think we have a wide range of weapons this year. And I think with Khalil's relationship with Josh, I mean, I think he's going to be the one getting those targets.
No, and I agree. And we haven't even brought up Curtis Samuel yet, who's a guy who's already played in a Joe Brady system, exactly. And he's a guy who's put up 800 yards with Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is no Josh Allen.
He's a cover machine, though, Pat. Teddy covers, man.
Yes, he does. But I mean, to have a guy now like Josh Allen with Curtis Samuel, a guy who's versatile, a guy who can, be in that Deebo Samuel type, who can be that type of player, be in the backfield, which I know we saw in mandatory minicamp. There was a clip of Curtis Samuel catching a pass out of the backfield. So I think Joe Brady's going to use Curtis Samuel any way he can. I think he's going to be let's just say a 10-time better version of Isaiah McKenzie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got to stay on the field, number one, right?
Right.
Your best ability is your availability. Isn't that the quote?
Yes, it is.
I mean, and so we talked about, in the offseason, the rumors, Ayuk or maybe Deebo Samuel, and you just hit the nail on the head. This could be our gadget Deebo Samuel. He's already got the Joe Brady connection. I mean, everyone's down on our wide receiver room. Look at any, social media platform, but I think with Diggs not being here, I think it's going to enable Josh to kind of open up his vision a little bit, not have to force the ball to this diva wide receiver who, like you just said, what is it, 80 targets?
Yes.
How many yards?
422.
Yeah, I mean, that's garbage. I mean, how many of those passes is Josh forcing to Steph so he doesn't have a meltdown in the locker room, right? And that's speculation.
Right, but I know there's that one little hit piece from Tyler Dunn. I consider it a hit piece, but he did say that Diggs after the week 1 game went up to Josh Allen and said something to him, and I'm not going to say it on air what Josh Allen said, but he told him to shut the F up.
Yeah.
And so how many of those, like you said, how many of those targets was Josh Allen forcing?
Exactly.
Because I know, look at it. I know when Eli Manning, this was a little before my time, so I don't know if I got the story right, but as soon as Eli Manning lost that number 1 target, he went on to win the Super Bowl. I think it was Jeremy Shockey. He lost.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there, man. I mean, I just feel like his mind's going to be a lot more clear. He's not having to worry about forcing that ball. And we haven't even talked about Kincaid and Knox, which we will.
Right.
But, just segue into that. But, I mean, we have the weapons available. I mean, it's not going to be a one-dimensional force the ball to Steph. Oh, we can't do it. Let's try and have a very blatant run play now up the middle. Right. It's going to diversify our playbook a little bit, having these a little bit more gadget guys. And we might not have a true wide receiver 1, but I'm fine with it. I mean, it doesn't bother me, man. We got Josh Allen. Like, let's remember that. Let's calm down a little bit.
I know I'm right there with you. I know you have some stats for us later with Josh Allen being an alien, but I look at that too. Now we have guys that are true separators like Shakir and Samuel. Compared to last year, we had Diggs, and Diggs was a separator, but he was being double teamed. Our number 2 option was Gabe Davis. He was not a separator at all. Now you bring in a guy like Curtis Samuel to be let's just say, a number 2 wide receiver. And we haven't even talked about Keon Coleman yet.
Exactly.
So
we could touch on Mac Hollins as well. I mean,
yeah,
you're talking about replacing that Gabe Davis role. We used to call him Gator Gabe because he looked like a Gator trying to catch the football, right? So I think Matt Collins is an upgraded version of Gabe Davis. He's bigger, stronger, faster. He's going to do those things that we wanted Gabe to do, in my opinion.
Right. And, Sean McDermott's going to love Matt Collins, willing special teamer as well. So I think that's a perfect segue to move into the tight ends.
Well, hang on. Let's talk about Keon Coleman.
Oh, yeah, Keon Coleman.
We can't skip over Keon.
Right.
Come on. He's been electric this offseason.
Yeah, he has. I think he's already became a fan favorite. I know a lot of people were not happy when we first drafted him originally when they saw that we traded with Kansas City and then traded again with Carolina.
Our arch rival. How could we ever trade with Kansas City, Pat? How could we do it?
Well, I mean, if that's not the guy we wanted, why not pick up an extra pick from your rival? Which we'll get into that player later.
Is that not Brandon Beane doing Brandon Beane stuff? Isn't that what he does? I mean,
it is.
I mean, come on. I like the play. I didn't like Xavier Worthy, and I believe we talked about this off air. He's hurt already. Is that right?
Yes, he had a hamstring injury. I don't know if he's still hurt, but I know he did have a hamstring injury.
I mean, I don't know. I could be completely off on that. He could be, a great wide receiver this year. I don't see it. And there is another guy that, we also traded back again, Xavier Legette, who went to Carolina. I know Joe Marino, was, really big on Xavier Legette. But I think after I didn't love Keon Coleman. He didn't put up the best stats. I think it was his junior year at Florida State. But when he played for Michigan State, he looked awesome. He looked the part. So I think the talent is all there. I think he has all the necessary traits. And I think he is getting into a system now where we're not depending on him to come in and be our wide receiver one, wide receiver two. We have the guys for that. He can kind of slowly build a rapport with Josh Allen and really find a niche into our offense.
And I agree. I'm right there with you. And I look at Keon Coleman and think he's a guy who can catch a jump ball, something that Gabe Davis could do as well. But Gabe Davis didn't play true to his size compared to Keon Coleman, where it seems like, I know they showed the one clip of mandatory minicamp. Yep, Gator Gabe, where kind of Keon Coleman had to turn his body and catch in the back of the end zone. That was the last clip of mandatory minicamp. So I'm really excited to see Keon Coleman. And I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, yeah, he wasn't even a 1,000-yard receiver his last year in college. People forget that Jordan Travis was hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
They were playing with a backup.
Exactly.
I mean, so the guy didn't even get to play with his starting quarterback for the second half of the season. So I'm very interested to see what Keon Coleman can bring to this Joe Brady's offense.
I have not seen season-long playoff or season-long futures for the players yet. I will be taking Keon Coleman over touchdowns. I'd have to guess it's probably somewhere in the 4.5 region. If I had to guess, I haven't seen him yet. But that is smash that bet.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he might not have a lot of yards, but I think he will have quite a few touchdowns. I think he might have 8 or 9, maybe 10, because with his height and how he plays true to his size, that matters.
Agreed.
Especially helping in the red zone, where we have struggled the last few years.
Yeah, big time with the Knox injuries. Should we segue?
Yep. I mean, now we get a guy like Dawson Knox who is fully healthy, and another year of Dalton Kincaid learning the offense and being more comfortable in the Bills system. And let's not forget about Quinton Morris, who a few times for the Bills has had a big play. Look at last year against the Giants, the year before against Miami for the division. So I think to have those 3 tight ends, especially, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, that's one of the best tight end rooms in football. Is it not?
Yeah, no, I mean, if look around, I mean, there's a couple teams that obviously have stronger tight ends, right? But if we're talking about the actual full room itself, how could you not like Knox and Kincaid? I mean, I think Kincaid's going to take major steps this year. I mean, I think, he talked a little bit, last year. He kind of felt like, his head was spinning a little bit sometimes, getting used to it. We threw him right into action. We asked a lot of him last year, and I think he stepped up for the most part when we asked him to. So I'm excited to see what year 2 Kincaid brings. I mean, think about this too. How many years does a tight end just come in rookie year and just be awesome, right? Obviously, you had, Laporta last year. But there's not, many times tight end rookie season traditionally has not been a super, strong performing season. So I like what he did last year for us. And I like, I'm excited for this year. I really am.
Yeah, so am I. I look at Dalton Kincaid. Once Dawson Knox went down, we asked a lot of Dalton Kincaid. We really did. And people compare Laporta and Kincaid. Sure, you can compare them because they came out of the same draft class, but at the same time, Kincaid was not the number one target here.
Yeah, I mean that's about all you can compare with them. I mean, Laporta he's a freak, man. Like,
he's a freak.
Let's call it what it is. I mean, he's just a bigger, more solid player. But yeah, Tommy right there, Kincaid could explode with Josh this season. Absolutely.
I know me and you are both big fantasy guys. I'm drafting Kincaid. I hope nobody that I'm in a fantasy league is watching this, but I'm taking Kincaid.
If you're not in a hometown Buffalo league, obviously those players get snatched up quicker. I feel like we're just drawn to them a little bit more. But if you're not in Buffalo right now, I bet you can get Kincaid. What do you think? Fifth
maybe round 7. Yeah, maybe 5 or 6. That's right where
yeah, exactly. So I think that's a steal if you can get him there.
Oh, I think so too.
Yep.
Now, how excited are you to be able to see what Joe Brady, how he's going to include a Dawson Knox in this offense?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think last year everyone was talking so big about 12 personnel and just seeing what that was going to look like, and then obviously Knox got injured, so it was kind of short lived. I just think with our array of weapons, I think he has so much of his playbook just open and ready to go.
Right.
It's hard for me. I'm trying to put a figure together of what Knox is going to do this year. It's hard. So for like fantasy purposes, yeah, Kincaid, grab him because he's a tight end. But grabbing the Bills' offensive players for fantasy is going to be tough because I truly see them just spreading the ball around.
So do I. I don't think it's going to be like Keon Coleman's going to have 100+ targets and fulfill Stephon Diggs's role. I don't think so. I think it'll be spread out, where we might have like 5 or 6 players with 800 yards compared to, one guy having 1,500. That's why it's kind of hard to, choose which Bills players you want in fantasy this year.
It is. I did a dynasty startup and I took James Cook, if we want to segue into the running backs here. And
let's do it.
Yeah. So I took James Cook as one of my backs. Even with the addition of Ray Davis, who I think is a beast. And we got Ty Johnson back there as well. And, I like Cook, man. He's got to catch the ball, right? He can't have those drops. Those drops were bad. And then from what I'm hearing, he's had a couple in, off-season workouts. So, I mean, he's got to figure that out. That was his thing in Georgia, right? Pass catching back.
Yes,
if he can't catch that ball, it might be Ray Davis time.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a Georgia fan, and there was times where we saw James Cook in the slot as a receiver. So I don't know if it's because Josh throws hard, but that's kind of, you've been here for quite some time now. You think you would be accustomed to it now. But because I mean, that costed us a few touchdowns last year. I could think of one against Dallas, one against Philly, and one against Miami. Luckily, we won 2 out of 3 of those games. But still, what if we lost by 1 possession? So it's very important that he brings those in. Yeah,
I mean, Josh Allen does throw the ball hard. We get that. But you practice this guy week in and week out. I mean, figure it out, man. Wear double gloves. Get the sticky stuff. Figure it out and catch the ball. That is what you are back there to do.
Right. And, I look at his rushing numbers, too. I know me and Matt earlier last year, Matt said, I don't know if he can be a 1,000-yard rusher. I'm like, he will be a 1,000-yard rusher. And he was. Now with this Joe Brady, having a full control of the offense, I think James Cook could see more rushing yards. Maybe he pushes the 1,200. Do you?
So let me ask you, do you think when Brady came in last year that it felt like our pass offense was broken? So do you feel like when Brady came in that he just wanted to run the ball to try and establish some offense, get these guys, going? Or do you think that's actually his scheme? Or do you think he was doing that just out of necessity last year to try and just keep our playoff hopes alive?
I think it was a little bit of both, actually. I think because, once you get your run game going, the defenses have to respect it.
Right.
And I think a lot of, before Brady came in, nobody was really respecting Ken Dorsey's running game.
No.
So now we're being right. It wasn't. Just have Josh Allen go on shotgun on 3rd and 2. I mean, and throw a 40-yard pass to Diggs.
Exactly.
So I mean, now with Brady having a full control of the offense, I think Brady's gonna try doing the same thing because Brady's the type of offensive coordinator who makes you cover every inch of grass.
Yes.
Either be running the ball or passing the ball. So I think it was a little bit of both, but I think Brady wanted to take some of the strain off the passing game and put it on the running game to try to help out the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And to answer your question, I think Cook could. I think he has the capabilities to get to 1,200, but I truly think that Ray Davis is going to have an impact on the offense this year. He's a bigger back. On passing downs, he's going to be a better blocker than Cook. I think in college he was actually a better pass catcher than Cook was. I think he played more of a lead back role at Kentucky, so I think he got more reps. So I think that has a lot to do with it if you look at the stats. But I think it's going to be more of a timeshare than people think. And like I said before, let's not forget Ty Johnson. I thought Ty Johnson played awesome for us when he was called upon last year.
Yes. I feel like Joe Brady kind of looked at Ty Johnson like a James Cook. They're kind of like the similar play style, which we saw it in the first, I think it was week 10 against the Jets, Joe Brady's first game as offensive coordinator. Ty Johnson went off against the Jets. He had a few nice plays.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I really do think that Bean took a draft pick and used it on a running back. I do think Ray Davis makes this team as RB2.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it last year with Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray was not getting it done in the red zone. So now with having a true thumper like a Ray Davis and a guy who can catch, he's a weapon.
There's still talk of Latavius Murray maybe coming back to be RB3, RB4.
It would be tough for him to make it.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it would. I liked what he did early in the season. I think his legs have too many miles on it. I think we asked him to do a little bit too much just because Cook is not that power runner. So hopefully Ray Davis can come in and be what we were asking of Lat Murray last year. That's my hope there. But we'll talk on No One to Blame in August when we start that up. We're going to go through all the Buffalo Bills player props, futures, all of that. So definitely stay tuned. We'll be doing it on every single player.
Right. And I just want to touch on this very quick. Ray Davis had 21 touchdowns last year, 14 rushing with 1,129 rushing yards, but he also had 7 receiving touchdowns with 323 receiving yards.
Well,
the guy's a weapon, like you said.
That answers our question, right?
Yeah. No, that guy's a weapon. So, I mean, James
mark me down for James Cook not having 1,200 yards rushing.
Well, if Ray Davis can get some playing time too, we're in a good spot. More weapons. More weapons we have.
Don't forget about our quarterback too, Pat. He's going to be vulturing those yards as well. He can't help
15 rushing touchdowns.
Exactly.
And we haven't even touched on a guy like Frank Gore Jr., who I know a lot of Bills Mafia wants him to make the team because he chose Buffalo because his dad spoke highly of Buffalo. But at the same time, we just re-signed Ty Johnson. Obviously, that was before the draft. But we saw the way Joe Brady used him. We spent I believe it was a 4th-round pick on Ray Davis. James Cook had over 1,000 yards last year, so I think those 3 are a lock. I think Frank Gore Jr. is going to be on the practice squad, unless he can, maybe be a special teamer. Maybe he can return kicks. But if he can't do that, I think this is like he's going to sit on the practice squad for 2 or 3 years until Ty Johnson's gone.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think there's the spot for him right now, and I haven't heard much at all about him, which is kind of not good news.
Right.
You would hope to have had heard something by now, but you never know. I mean, these running backs. I mean, you need the running back depth. I mean, you don't want to pay Cook when his contract's up. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I did want to bring that up. Ramondre Stevenson did just get extended with New England, and I'm trying to pull up his numbers right here. I have it right here. He got paid.
A sizable deal.
It was. Now, I'm waiting for it to pull up here. Would you give him that type of contract?
I'm a big Ramondre guy. I think he's awesome. I think with New England rebuilding, I think they needed to keep, a core player like that on their team. So I don't think we're ever going to be in that position. I mean, we have Josh Allen as our anchor. I mean, they don't really know what they're doing. Is it going to be, is it Drake May? Is it going to be, who's the journeyman that they brought in?
Oh, it was Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, the Brisket. Is it going to be Brisket? Is it going to be Drake May? I mean, I think they had to sign Ramondre. Did you actually get the contract details?
Yes, it was a 4-year deal for $36 million with $17 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
I would give that to James Cook.
That's not terrible. I mean, when the time comes, I'd like to see what our roster looks like and what our cap looks like before. I think New England, like I said, kind of had to make that deal just to kind of keep some of that core together, to give them some stability on offense. But we'll see if we need to do that. I mean, if Ray Davis comes out and is the man, it might be, time for Cook to move on.
Well, we did do the same thing with Devin Singletary. Just saying.
Exactly.
I know we moved on from him when we had the younger guy. I just wonder if we would do it again.
I mean, paying running backs in the NFL, it's a tough thing to do. I mean, I'm not sure that that's a winning strategy long term. I know you see, the Niners and CMC, right? Probably the first one that comes to mind. It is, right? He's a unicorn. Yeah. But I mean, if you look at, teams that win the Super Bowl year in, year out, 9 times out of 10, it's because they got an awesome franchise quarterback. It's not because they have Derrick Henry or Aaron Jones or Saquon Barkley. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not that. So it's going to be a tough call when it comes to Cook, and we'll see what the market value is when that time comes.
And I agree. And I think that's a perfect way to kind of move into the offensive line. The running backs can't do anything without the men up front. So obviously, Deion Dawkins is a lock. Made the Pro Bowl last year, just got extended a couple months back after he kind of pranked Bills Mafia by saying, "Can I still call Bills Mafia home?" So when I saw that, I'm kind of like, Buffalo's not letting him go. But they did just let go of Trey White, Jordan Poyer. So
yeah, was it a prank, or what was going on there? I don't think anyone ever got to the bottom of that.
Right? So obviously, we also let go of Mitch Morse at that time too. So I'm like, would we move on from Deion? I don't think so. He's one of the better left tackles in the league. So we have Deion Dawkins at left tackle. That's a lock.
Yep.
Now left guard is where it starts getting interesting. Is it David Edwards? Is it Cedric Van Pran Granger that we took a 5th round pick on? Then you got McGovern. Yes. Now, how do you feel about that pick?
That kid's a stud. It was an amazing pick. I think, what did we get him in the 5th round?
Yep.
I mean, what a pick by Bean right there. I mean, offensive line, to ask someone come in their rookie year and start, I think is a tall task, right? I think pretty much any position really. And with David Edwards' experience, I think it could be more of a timeshare. I could see them, splitting some time as the season goes on, as VPG gets his legs underneath him a little bit. I mean, the dude's a monster.
He is.
I mean, I think it's a great pick, man.
I like that pick too. As a Georgia fan, I saw quite a bit of SVP. But again, I think the Bills would start with the veteran. McDermott's, shown that he likes starting the veteran.
Yeah.
But that doesn't say, if Edwards struggles, that SVP will step right in. Then maybe they move McGovern back to guard and move SVP to center.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, did you hear what McGovern said in his interview over the last week?
Yeah.
He is pumped to be back at center.
Right.
That is his natural position. That's where he's most comfortable. And with Morse departing, I mean, you want a guy that is going to feel most comfortable in that position, snapping the ball to our franchise quarterback, right?
Right. And
I think
you're right.
I think you let, Edwards and SVPG, kind of figure it out over there and leave McGovern right where he is at the center position.
I agree. And like McGovern said, he's already trying to get used to Josh Allen. Josh Allen's trying to get used to him. Josh Allen said he had a certain place where he liked to keep his hands under Mitch Morse. Now he has to try to find that spot with McGovern. So They're already working that out. That tells me McGovern's still lock center. They were trying to gear him up for this last year, when they had Mitch Morse.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to right guard, Osiris Torrance is a guy who stepped right in and started, which we got him in the second round. I still don't know how we got him in the second round. Truthfully, I don't. It was.
Brandon Bean, man. He's a wizard. Come on.
Yes, he is. Big baller Bean. I really don't think there's a lot of competition there. I think that's Osiris Torrance's position.
Yep.
Now, moving into right tackle, though, Lelu Collins, we signed. We have Spencer Brown still. I believe he had some sort of injury to his shoulder. I think it was a torn labrum. It was. So I know they said he'll be ready for training camp. They hope. But how does a guy like Lelu Collins see playing time? Is it at the guard position?
You already touched on it, and I think it's an injury, right? I think it's an injury, and maybe they want to kind of protect Spencer Brown a little bit, not give him as many reps as he's used to, let him work back in from that injury, and that's where Lelu Collins steps in, So, I mean, you touch on all those players. I mean, I feel extremely comfortable with that offensive line.
So do I. We had one of the best units last year. I believe Josh Allen was one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. So now another year of this line and a younger center who's been in the system now for about to be his second year, and David Edwards, who was the sixth man off the bench. So all the starters that are going to come in now with David Edwards is just somebody who already knows the system, already has worked with Aaron Cromer, which is our offensive line coach for anybody who did not know. I just don't see how this offensive line does not get better.
No, I agree. Cromer's done a great job, getting these guys up to speed. He's well respected throughout the league. I mean, he's what is he, the best offensive line coach in the league, arguably? I mean, I think we really knocked it out of the park when we got him, and I think he's done a great job over the past several years with these guys. I mean, it's the person to put it. Watch him on the field, man. Like you said, one of the best units in the league last year. I'm excited for it this year.
So am I. I mean, I know we just spent 32 minutes talking about the offense. That's just how excited we are for the offense this year. I think it's going to look a lot different. It's going to be a lot of different names and different numbers to get used to, but I think it's a good way. It's not a rebuild that we went through. It's a retooling.
I am chugging the Bills Kool-Aid when it comes to the offense, so I'm all in.
Oh, so am I. I played the Madden 25 beta the other day.
There you go.
And, man, playing with that Bills offense was fun.
There you go. That's all you need to know.
Right? And, again, we are sponsored by Ilio DePaulo's, Sons of Erie, Hamburg Brewing, and Beauty Pools. Moving into the defense now, where do you want to start? Do we start with the defensive line and move our way back?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll go line to line.
All right, yeah. Obviously, we brought back AJ Epinesa. We have Greg Rousseau. We picked up his fifth-year option, who's now in his contract year. We have a guy like Kingsley Jonathan, which Daquan Jones told me in one of his live streams that nobody knows about Kingsley Jonathan. He's a dog.
Yep.
So we do have Kingsley Jonathan, and Von Miller, I think, is the hot topic right now. He had no sacks last year. I know that's what people bring up all the time, but he did say he was starting to feel himself after that Miami game in Week 18. Now, fast forward to the playoff game against Pittsburgh, he looked better. Then the game against Kansas City in the divisional round, he looked the best he's looked all year. Me personally, I think he rushed himself back, and I will stand on that. He was wearing that brace, right? And I mean, you saw him wearing that brace. It just didn't look right. It didn't look like Von Miller coming off the edge. He looked slower.
Move. Yeah, was it the second surgery on the same knee? The guy is, 34 years old. I mean, he rushed it back to try and help us get to the playoffs. And then I'm pretty sure he gave up money to stay a Buffalo Bill this year.
Yes, he did. What the contract stipulation is, I mean, I love that too, because I think of it as if he were not to take that pay cut, would he be a Buffalo Bill right now? Or would he be just like a Trey White and on a different team?
Probably.
So I like that Von Miller bet on himself, a first ballot Hall of Famer when it's all said and done.
Yep.
To bet on himself in what, year 14?
Yep. I mean, he won that Super Bowl against Carolina, right? I mean, let's call it what it is.
Yeah, no, he did. I mean, he was a Super Bowl MVP, right?
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
I believe so, yeah, because I don't think Peyton didn't play well that game.
No, I don't think he did. I think that was the game where Carolina You know,
Is that
Sean
Is
McDermott.
that a McDermott defense?
I believe so. I think McDermott was one of the assistants. So I mean, McDermott's seen Von Miller at his best, and Bean saw it too when he was the GM there as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So
time
I mean,
is a flat circle, Pat. It all comes full circle, brother.
Right? Now that they team up together trying to bring Buffalo a Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl. I mean, how do you not? I mean, if they see Von Miller, they see that he can bounce back. I don't get how Bills Mafia can't see it. Because now I'm looking at him at mandatory minicamp. People say, "Oh, steroid Von Miller." Obviously, he's not on steroids, but I mean, that knee looks strong. It looks it looks good compared to last year. He had the brace on it.
Yeah, I mean, and we may not need to lean on him as much as we did that first season or when he got hurt. So let him work his way back in. Like you said, he got stronger at the end of last year. Let's ride that into this year. I'm excited about it.
So am I.
Any production is going to be better than none. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And I mean, I look at it as I believe we had one of the most teams with sacks in the NFL last year. Our defensive line, I believe, had 54 sacks, which I think was top 5 or top 3 in the league last year. And that was with a no production from Von Miller.
Yeah.
Now, if Von Miller comes back and gives us 8-9 sacks, we're only in a better spot.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think is like these players like Oliver, Russo, Epineza, these guys they're playing with each other for several years now. The line's got a little cohesiveness. Watch them settle in a little bit. And it's not just about getting the garbage time sacks. We had a lot of garbage time sacks. We need the sacks when the game is on the line. That's when we need these guys to step up. I feel like that is what's been missing the last couple of years. We need to get to the quarterback when it matters the most, not when we're up by 4 scores, because we're crushing Miami, and then getting 3 sacks in the fourth quarter. That means nothing to us. Sack Patrick Mahomes when he has the ball in the playoffs. That's when it matters.
I am so glad you brought that up. Because that's something I said last week on the podcast with Widow 2K on the part of the Coast to Coast podcast here on Do Champions Media Network. I said, why is it come in the regular season we have one of the best defensive line in football, but come the playoffs, the interior pressure is gone, the exterior pressure is kind of non-existent as well. It looks like we're staying home. Why is that? Now with guys,
question is that a Sean McDermott? Is that a Sean McDermott changing the scheme? Is that he's been known to well, I guess not known, but accused of being a softer coach. I mean, is that a little bit of that, or is it just these guys not being seasoned veterans enough to get out there and make that play happen?
Well, with bringing in a guy like Dwayne Carter, which is the guy we got from the Kansas City pick, we told you we would touch on him later. Bringing in a guy like Dwayne Carter, who's they said he's a great guy. He was clapping Will Clapp. That's what some of the tweets were saying. And then you bring in a guy like Austin Johnson and Deshaun Williams. Austin Johnson was vouched for by Daquan Jones here.
Yep.
So obviously, to bring in these type of players, does that help in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to. I think, we got our main guys and they've been playing together for several years now. And now we could add some guys that are fresh, right? I think we're sick and tired of seeing Jordan Phillips, get his QB pressure and then run 10 yards past the quarterback, fall and sprain his shoulder. I'm sick of seeing, Tim Settle let the running back just, squeeze right through that hole. Like, I think our rush defense is what's going to benefit most from, those guys not being here and the aforementioned guys being here. I think that's what we're going to see this year. And then could be a segue into linebackers right there. I mean, stopping the run.
You're spot on. Matt Milano participating in practice and mandatory minicamp. I know Sean McDermott said they're not going to rush him, but it is a great sign to see him participating in mandatory minicamp. Me personally, I think he'll be ready for week 1. I think he'll play in all 3 preseason games because he has to knock that rust off. He hasn't played since week 5 of last year.
Yep.
But to see him back is such a relief.
Yep.
Because last year in the playoffs, we had the ghost of AJ Klein out there with Dorian Williams, a rookie.
So they're out there trying to cover Travis Kelce off the couch the week before. I mean, give it to the guy, man. I mean, he filled in admirably, but I mean, what were we supposed to do there? It's, the greatest mismatch of all time. Travis Kelce running past AJ Klein.
Right. And I mean, Andy Reid likes to attack the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. And when we don't have I say Terrell Bernard played at an all-pro level last year because he did. If we didn't, we had 2 all-pros. Well, one realistically all-pro, but one that could have been an all-pro not playing. We had backups and a guy who was planning a vacation with his family that same weekend to come off, so to have, Milano back and Terrell Bernard doing a lot of injury prevention this offseason to avoid those high ankle sprains, really, we could be in for a special season out of those 2. I can't hear you. No, I still can't hear you.
There it is.
Yep, there we go.
Yep. Thanks, student, for the faulty microphone. No, I mean, we got a glimpse of it to start the year last year. I mean, Bernard, I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card as Bernard coming out and being that good. And then him and Milano together. I mean, granted, it was a soft start to our schedule last year, but they looked incredible together. So we get those guys healthy. I mean, how do you feel about Dorian Williams?
I think last year Dorian Williams was playing too fast. He was playing off his what's the word I'm looking for? Off his tendencies. He wasn't really reading. He was more reacting than he was reading and reacting.
That's a perfect way to put that.
I really think so, because I mean, you saw it a few times last year where he would make the play, if it was a dump pass out of the backfield to the running back on a wheel route, or then you saw sometimes where he pursued and it was wrong. So I think he was more reacting than reading and reacting. Yeah,
I did like when he did get that read correct, though, and he can hit, man. Let me tell you, I love watching him hit guys. And if he can learn that system a little bit better, learn his spots, know where he's supposed to be, and can time those hits more consistently, I think he could be an impact role player.
I mean, that's a guy who comes out like a flaming bullet when he reads it correctly. I mean, man. Then I know to bring in a guy like Nicholas Morrow as well, who has played in a Super Bowl recently with Philly, and then he played for good defenses. He played with Philly, he played for Chicago back in 2019 when they had that good defense.
Yeah,
to have a guy like that too, to where now it wouldn't be an AJ Klein. Knock on wood, if Milano and Bernard were to go down, I trust a Deion Jones and Nicholas Morrow more than a AJ Klein who's off the couch.
Yeah, and then didn't we take one late in the draft as well from Washington?
Yes, I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me. It was Ellie from Washington State. Okadusho or something like that. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce his name. So I mean, right? If you are, I apologize. But that's another guy which I know a lot of people said he reminds them of Matt Milano. If Matt Milano, if he retires in 4 to 5 years, that's a guy who learned from Milano and somewhat plays like Milano. That would be pretty interesting to see as well.
Yep, I like the depth, man. I like the depth. Okay, so we got about 15 minutes left here. We need to get into this secondary, man. I mean, wow.
Yes.
A lot of turnover, man. A lot of turnover, a lot of fresh faces.
I know. I mean, let's start with Rasul Douglas. We have him for another year. We have Christian Benford.
Did you hear he said how he was playing last year? So go back and look at the impact that Rasul had first off. Like, wow, yeah, major impact that this guy had. And then you hear him say, yeah, I was really just doing whatever Hyde and Poyer, I was just covering whoever Hyde and Poyer told me to cover. So now this guy is getting into the system and actually going to learn the system. I mean, that's exciting.
It really is. Because, I mean, now, like he said, he has time to learn what every position's doing here in Buffalo. What are the defensive tackles doing? What are the edges doing? What are the linebackers doing? What are the safeties doing? And to know that he was just more listening to what the safeties were telling him, and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, compared to now, where he actually knows what's going on.
Yeah.
He led the Bills in picks last year. It's not crazy to say that he could possibly lead the Bills in interceptions.
And
Again,
he should.
He should. I mean, touching into Christian Benford, that guy continues to, play well. He's very reliable here in Buffalo.
What a pick.
How do you feel about
Brandon Beane? Oh, I love it, man. Benford has been a stud, man. And I like the versatility. I like if we need him to play safety, he can play safety. But I like this year, let's get him into a lockdown role. Let's get him into, he's going to be a starting corner this year, right? Let's get him in there. I think he's going to be great. Joe Marino did a whole show about it. You can go listen to that as his sleeper pick. He does not get the recognition he deserves, and I'm fine for it. Don't let the league know. Don't put the league on notice that this dude is a stud. And you pair him back there with Rasul Douglas. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, now they got to stay on the field, right? I know you could say that about every single position, but those two especially, they had some costly injuries. I think Benford has been out 3 out of 4 playoff games or something like that. I mean, the guy he's got to stay on the field. But, when he's on the field, what's not to love?
Right. I mean, now, is that also a guy who could play more in the Dane Jackson role this year and be the fourth corner? With the DBs coach that we brought in from Miami, he's more of a man principal. And we don't know what Bobby Babish wants to call on defense if he is the defensive coordinator. Right. I know he has a job title, but if he's calling the plays, if he wants to play more man, do we go to a guy like Kyer Elam, who, showed growth last year in the playoff game with Deontay Johnson? It's one of my favorite moments of last year, to be honest with you. Being picked on, Deontay Johnson starts talking his mess. Elam picks him off and hands the ball right back to the referee. Goes right back to the sideline. I mean, he comes from a family who's played in the NFL. He has the he has the pedigree. He's one of the hardest workers on the team.
Yep.
He's the first one in, last one out.
He's also one of the youngest ones on the team.
Right, he is. I believe he's 23, 22?
Yeah, he's young. I mean, let's let him develop a little bit more. I mean, yes, do we draft in the first round? Yes, we did. But, you expect a little bit more from him. But coming from a man system to come into our complex zone system, it's not easy to do that. But he has the talent. It's just, can they get him the knowledge to use that on the field? Make his talent work for us, right?
Right. And I mean, he was dealing with that foot injury last year too, which I believe required surgery or did not.
Injuries. Injuries. You sensing a theme here?
Yeah. I mean, I know Beane and McDermott said they're going to look after the last presser of the season last year. They were going to look into that. Hopefully they came up with an answer because, I mean, me personally, I don't like to make excuses, but we're without all pros, almost 2 or 3 all pros every divisional round in the playoffs, every year. There has to be a reason for this.
We still won the division. We still went into Miami and smacked them to win the division. I mean, that's, you gotta love the heart of this team.
We forgot about Taron Johnson.
Yes.
Taron Johnson, the all-pro.
Obviously, Dane Jackson walking, is leaving that position open. But let's talk about the slot corner, Taron Johnson. I mean, what a beast this guy has been, man.
One of the best slot corners in the NFL. He was second-team All-Pro just behind, I believe it was Trent McDuffie, which there could be a case that Taron Johnson could have been first-team All-Pro, which obviously, we're going to ride with our guy. But Taron Johnson's a guy who, plays hard. He's just like everybody else on the defense. They play hard. He's just a good player all around. Doesn't make
his injury last year was that a neck injury or was it a concussion?
Concussion. He has had a few concussions in his career.
Okay. Well, what's a concussion if you're not playing football, right?
Right.
You're playing football, you're going to get a concussion, man. It's part of the game. But
right.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for it. I mean, one of my best Bills memories, man, that Baltimore Ravens playoff game, and Taron Johnson took that pick six. Was it 103 yards?
Yes, against Lamar Jackson.
Oh my gosh, I mean, we haven't even gotten to that, and then maybe that's something we could touch on next week is Lamar versus Allen. But dude, that is just one of the best memories. One of my most fondest memories as a Buffalo Bills fan. Watching Taron Johnson pick off Lamar, take it to the house, basically sealed the game for us right there while the Ravens were knocking on the door. I mean, what a moment.
Right. I mean, that's one of my favorite moments too, because, I didn't get to see the Buffalo Bills, the 90s run. So to see them, I saw the 2018 against Jacksonville. But then to see the 2020 season where, it was magical, especially for me. It was my first time seeing the Bills win a playoff game. It was my first time seeing the Bills win the division. Yeah. And to see us, if that stadium was full of Bills fans, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 Bills Mafia, that place might have fell down.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure they would have erupted. They would have erupted.
No question.
I mean, just the fans that were there were loud. I mean, they're causing delay of games in that game. So that's one of my favorite moments too.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's incredible to see. I mean, Bills Mafia is the best fan base, but it's not biased. It's just known, right?
Yeah, no, that's facts.
Before we get to safeties, any other cornerbacks you want to talk about?
We touched on Kyer Elam. I think we touched on all of them besides Daquan Hardy.
Yeah, I mean,
especially I think he's gonna be more of a kick returner in the kick returner role, and maybe if he can find somewhere to play. But I think those are your four corners.
If he's seeing the field, we're in trouble, I think.
Right? Let's hope not, man, because I know right now we're sitting at roughly $9 to $10 million in cap space. Maybe we go sign a Pat Peterson or a whoever else is available. But hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully these guys stay healthy the whole year. I know that's kind of a hard ask, but if they can do it, thank goodness.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So safeties, whole new safety room, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what happened in our safety room.
Well, we brought in a guy like Mike Edwards, who has won 2 Super Bowls, one with Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. Now, then he won, I believe, 2 with Kansas City and with Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Now, he's another guy who's trying to win his 3rd Super Bowl with his 3rd team. Just like Von Miller. So to now see a guy like Mike Edwards want to come here and play here, he said he idolized Micah Hyde. He modeled his game after Micah Hyde. Now, I know a lot of people said, is he going to be the strong safety playing the Jordan Poyer role, or is he going to be in the free safety Micah Hyde role? He said himself he's more of he plays like Micah Hyde. So me personally, I do like that pick. I know right now he's dealing with that shoulder injury, but he will be ready for training camp. Yeah, and I can't wait to see what he can do. So how do you feel about Mike Edwards?
Yeah, I think it was a great pickup. And I mean, not to mention just his play on the field, but let's talk about getting it from a great player from our rival, picking a good player from their secondary now that we could pick on when we play Kansas City. I mean, and the information that comes with it, right? His knowledge of Kansas City, their inner workings, let's get a few more Kansas City players in there and make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, have that's a guy who can give you intel on Kansas City's defense. He knows how Spagnuolo wants to play against Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. He saw us quite a few times. So I love that intel. I love this. I also love keeping Taylor Rapp because, he can lay off let's just call it how it is, friendly fire. Yeah. He hits hard too. He hits like a Jordan.
Did he injure Shakir or who did he hit in offseason this year? He hit someone.
Involuntary minicamp, he hit Shakir.
Yeah. In the leg. Yeah, but that wasn't the play that injured Shakir though, was it?
I know Shakir was out for a day because of that hit. He had that compression sleeve on his leg.
That dude's an animal, man. I mean, I love how he hits on the field. I think he could bring kind of that Poyer role, right? So if Edwards is playing the Hyde role, get Rapp in the Poyer role. And I also, you hear that he's got a strong voice in the locker room, right? He's kind of taking command of that secondary a little bit, which we need. We need someone to step up here. We have all these fresh faces. get someone in there with a strong voice that can make plays in the field. I mean, he didn't play great last year. I know he had some, notable moments. I expected a little bit more from him. But I think he even knows that. I think this year he's going to come in, he knows the responsibility.
Right. No, and I'm right there with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. He is going to play in that Jordan Poyer role. Now, I do wonder, though, with a guy like Cole Bishop that being wanted, he was trying to trade up for Bishop. Now, does Bishop play more in the box, or is that Rapp?
Man, I think Hamlin's going to be the third safety.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be Bishop. I think what I hear about Bishop coming from Bobby Babich is he's learning. He needs to learn. He's kind of spinning out there a little bit, right? Damar Hamlin knows the defense. When he came in that year when he died on the field, right?
Yeah.
He was there because Hyde got hurt, and he was playing great. I liked what Damar Hamlin did in place of Hyde while Hyde was hurt. I think Hamlin knows the defense more. He may not have the talent. He may not be more talented than Cole Bishop. I just think, he's also having a strong offseason to start, right?
Picked up Josh Allen twice.
These things matter. So, I think it's going to be Hamlin before Cole Bishop.
That's interesting. We're definitely going to have to clip that one and, bookmark this, because if you are correct, hey.
It's a hot take. Our buddy Mike was yelling at me about it the other day and basically calling me an idiot. And Mike, if you're listening, now you're the idiot. So,
well, we do have a comment here from Student Body, right? I've heard about wide receivers involuntary hitting people before. Which student we do need that update to Stephon Diggs buy that house in Houston.
We need to know.
I bet you he hasn't. So yeah, moving on. I think we covered the safeties. Oh, Cam Lewis, obviously, a guy who continues to be a part of this defense.
He's going to be here, right? And I think it's a great depth piece. He knows the offense. I think he played well, and I think he could play a cornerback. He could play safety. He could fill a couple of those spots, and we're going to need it. Not just as rotational, but someone's going to miss a few games. It's going to happen.
Sadly.
So to have someone like Cam Lewis that could step in and make an impact and cover someone while they're out, I love it.
No, so do I. That's a guy who knows the system that I'm comfortable with. I know people go back and look at that one-handed catch by Justin Jefferson. Of course, that's all anybody remembers. Yeah. But it's whatever. It happens. Nobody faults Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and Trey White for the Hail Murray. So I mean, you just kind of have to move on, take the hit and move on.
Yeah, 13 seconds. I mean, come on. Let's not go down this path. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's not. New season. Special teams. Now, this is going to get a little upsetting because what happened last year with Tyler Bass. But let's start with the punter. Obviously, the long snapper is still Reed Ferguson. Reed Ferguson's not going anywhere. He's a member of Bills Mafia. He ain't going nowhere.
That's right.
Moving on to punter. We have Sam Martin. We signed Matt Hawk.
Oh, we cut Matt
during
Hawk.
Yes, we signed him last year during the playoffs.
Yes.
And then a couple weeks ago we cut him. I wonder why that was. Did he come in to show Sam Martin how to hold the ball for Tyler Bass?
Matt Hawk he's a great holder, and I know that sounds like am I joking? Like no, he is. He is a great holder, and kickers need to be comfortable with their holder, and Sam Martin and Tyler Bass do not mesh well together. I think there was I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but this kid from San Diego State, Jack Browning, undrafted, that we signed. Tyler Bass went 7 for 7 with Jack Browning, and I think he missed over 50% of his kicks the other day with Sam Martin holding. So there's a serious problem there. So is there a scenario where we keep someone and maybe Jack Browning holds, Sam Martin punts, Tyler Bass kicks field goals, and then Jack Browning go ahead and have kickoffs as well. Let Tyler Bass focus on field goals.
Yeah, he needs to, because you can't be losing games. I never thought I would have to live through a wide right field goal.
Oh my gosh.
I never thought I'd have to live through that, but to see it, and then he missed, he I don't like to say he cost the Philly game, but we did go to overtime and he did miss a field goal.
He missed 2 field goals in that game.
Exactly. So that's a touchdown minus the extra point. We can't have that. He missed a kick in the playoffs.
Similar as our defensive line not showing up when it matters. Tyler Bass last year did not show up when it matters, and I believe he's paid in top 25% in the league for kickers. What are we doing here? This guy needs to figure it out.
He has to. I know. I was talking to Okay, there we go. We got a comment here from Do Champions. I believe this is Matt. So, Neffy, what's your reaction to that?
The whale is one shot away. Oh, okay. So let's talk about it. So, real quick segue. Do Champions, and you can follow me, do_Neffy. We're putting out 3 plays a day. We got together, Matt and I today, put together a whale parlay, right? Backed by Student. Put up a huge number. Go check it out on Twitter. But we're playing Draisaitl over 2.5 shots. According to Matt, he's got 2. I have the game on behind us here, but I'm focusing on you, Pat. I wouldn't treat you like that.
No,
and then we also parlayed that with the first period under 1.5 goals, right? That parlay, I think, paid out plus 190. So we need the first period under 1.5 goals, Draisaitl to record 3 shots, and we're home free. So it sounds like Draisaitl's got 2 shots there. So let's go. We need it.
Let's go.
You know what they
say?
In
the words of you said what?
We're due.
Yes. Yes, sir. Comment here from Student. We legitimately have cut Reed Ferguson 97 million times. I believe it was 98 million times, but close. But yes, we have cut Reed Ferguson. He's like, all right, you're cut. Go sit in the parking lot for a few minutes. You already have your designated chair out there. Sit out there for 6 hours. We'll bring you back in.
Yeah.
He ain't going nowhere.
So outside of what we talked about, is there anything we missed? Is there anything else newsworthy of the new defensive coach, the new players that we got, the rookies coming up, and anything that you want to touch on again? Anything you want to revisit here?
Well, I think we touched on everything. We touched on Bobby Babbage.
Dwayne Carter.
Let's do it. I'm all for it. I love that guy.
Revisit that quickly. I want to touch on it again because everyone was so mad when we traded with Kansas City, but we parlayed that pick to gain an extra pick in the top 100. We drafted Dwayne Carter, a player of need, a player, a position that we absolutely needed to fill. And this dude is a stud. When you can fleece your rival and trick them into taking Xavier Worthy and then go and grab Dwayne Carter with the pick that you get for it, I just love it, man. I was pumped about it.
Me too. I know there's a lot of reports that came out after he was drafted that he is a locker room guy. He is a true leader.
Team captain, I believe, at Duke.
Yes, he wasn't. He was only there for 3 years, and he was team captain for 2. Mm-hmm. So that says a lot.
Process.
So, to have that type of guy in the locker room who is disruptive as well on the field and, could be a true leader off the field in the locker room for these guys, especially with the leadership we just lost in Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Who knows if Micah Hyde comes back? But to have right. So, to have that type of guy that can play well on the field and be a good teammate in the locker room really matters. And that guy could end up winning us a game against Kansas City in the playoffs where we are now in the Super Bowl. So
Edmonton scored, Pat.
Oh,
Not only did Edmonton score, but Draisaitl passed it instead of shooting. So now
oh.
we're 12 minutes and 33 seconds away. No more goals. No more goals in the first period. That's all we need. Get
Well,
excited, Pat. This is a big deal.
it is. It is.
Feel a little emotion.
Let's hope they don't score anymore. We want solid defense all around.
There we go. I think we need to talk about Micah Hyde.
Yes.
Scary injury. And,
Yes.
he's a family man, right? And
right.
I'd love to have him back selfishly. Is that the right move for his career?
Well, I would love to bring him back if he's willing to play again. But I know they say after a spinal fusion, if you have another, stinger, you're done. He played through 2 stingers last year. And obviously there's life after football. Put the football fan aside and just be a human being. That guy, Micah Hyde has a family, he has kids. So, the quality of life after football is very important. If he can get medically cleared and he wants to, sure, I'm all for it. But if he chooses to retire, I'm also for that as well. I would love to have him back, in the locker room and, mentor Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop, and the young guys on defense, and be a leader to the guys on offense, the young guys on offense as well. But I would maybe he comes back.
I haven't heard a word about it, but I would say that he was the better of the two out of him and Poyer last year. I felt like you can kind of tell that Poyer was aging a little bit more than Hyde.
Right.
I like, obviously they didn't play the same amount of games with injury, but I'd welcome Hyde back. I don't know if would he start. Would he have to start if he came back?
I thought about that too, because would McDermott put him out there, or would McDermott just have Micah Hyde in Mike Edwards' ear?
Yeah,
because if Mike Edwards were to go down, knock on wood, and have Micah Hyde,
right?
Where's the drop off? Because Mike Edwards said himself, he models his game after Micah Hyde. So is there much of a drop off at this point? Sure, obviously, Micah Hyde knows McDermott's defense, and McDermott has a very, very strategic defense, we'll say. He likes to disguise a lot. So I would love to have Micah Hyde back. Yeah.
So I set this TV up on my kitchen table, and we just got a message from Duke Champions there. First period is over. I'm actually 12 minutes behind on this game. Cash the first leg. Cash my leg.
Let's fucking go.
First period, under 1.5. All what we need, Draisaitl, one more shot. What's not to love, people? 2 periods to get it? Come on.
Let's go.
One thing that we did not touch upon here is Josh Allen. We talked about him a little bit with his new offense, but what do we expect from Josh Allen this year? What are you expecting from him?
Well, considering that he has the most touchdowns for an NFL player under the age, 28 and under. He's a guy who has had 40 touchdowns the last 4 years, looking to break his own record again and do it for the 5th straight.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Oh, he's trying to break his record again of 40 straight touchdown seasons.
Yeah.
4, he's trying to get it to 5. So, he had 29 passing touchdowns last year, 15 rushing, and that's not including playoffs. So this is a guy who continues to be nothing but a touchdown machine. I know people want to talk about his turnovers. Sure. You want to talk about his turnovers? He has the most interceptions since 2019, but he also has the most touchdowns in that span too. So what are we talking about here?
Exactly. And how many of those turnovers are because Josh Allen is trying to force the ball to Stephon Diggs in a place probably the ball shouldn't have went, but someone that commands the targets, was he behind the scenes did he feel internal pressure to funnel the ball to Steph in times of trouble, right? And how many of those were picked off?
Well, I'm kind of glad we brought that back up again, because looking at it, that second year of Brian Daboll, I believe it was actually Brian Dable's first year, that 2020 season, Josh Allen only had 11 interceptions or 9? Yeah. And that was before Diggs' outburst started. So I think you're on to something, that Diggs was demanding the ball as soon as Daboll left. It was like, hey, I'm the guy here. Give me the ball.
Josh Allen will have over 29 passing touchdowns this year.
Yep, I agree. Over.
that. That's going to happen. I think that we have a more diversified pass catching offense with the guys we have now. Granted, they're new. I get all that. I understand it, but I just think that he's going to go off this year. I mean, I don't think he's going to be as relied upon to, what do you have, 15 rushing touchdowns last year?
Yes. And that's not including playoffs.
That's insane. What did Lamar have?
7? Oh,
MVP.
Let's
Lamar?
get into that.
Come on.
Let's get into that.
Give me a break with this guy. Pull up this. Let's pull up the stats here. We got our new stats guy, Jake, supplied us with the stats here.
Yes, he did. Bear with us 1 second. We're pulling this up. I mean, I think personally, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, no. The 2019 year. Okay, so 2019 when Lamar won the MVP, and we're looking at Josh. Lamar's stats are better. Give it to him that year. But if we're talking last year, 2023, Josh Allen's stats, man, are just better. I mean, they're more. Yeah. It's what you would want out of a quarterback, in my opinion. I mean,
I'm looking at the stats myself, and Josh Allen leads he does lead in every passing stat from 2019 to 2023 outside of passing yards per attempt.
Right.
But Josh Allen has way more touchdowns.
So how does Lamar win the MVP? You know, you have several guys that have better passing stats for him, and then they go and they play the Chiefs, and they expect Lamar. Everyone expects Lamar and Baltimore to run on him. They come out passing the ball, which killed all of our rushing prop bets for that day, might I add. But not only that, but he did not pass the ball well in that game. So how is this dude the MVP? I mean, I would take CMC as MVP over Lamar.
Myself included, because I look at it and sure, Lamar Jackson had a 13-3 record and he beat San Francisco, which I think that solidified it. But he didn't beat San Francisco. Yes, sure he did. But let's not act like Baltimore's defense, number one rated defense, by the way, didn't shut down Brock Purdy. Nope. And we've seen it time and time and time again. I don't know how many times we have to see it. When Lamar Jackson has to beat somebody with his arm, he can't do it. Look at when he played Buffalo in the playoffs. He can't do it. In that game where Baltimore was up 17-0 at home, right? He couldn't do it. Where we see Josh Allen puts his team on his back. That's the difference, in my opinion, between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen can put his team on his back to where with Lamar Jackson, once the pressure starts, he caves.
Yeah.
And he cannot win with his arm. He needs his legs.
Look at Josh's playoff stats versus Lamar's. I think we need to grab those and talk about that next week. The playoff stats is Josh just plays so much better in the playoffs. And isn't that what you want out of your quarterback? Right. Give Lamar the MVP. If you want to keep giving him MVP so he can lose in the playoffs in the first round, second round every year, be my guest. I'll take Josh every day of the week.
Me too. I look at it, and if we had I don't want to say we had a kicker. If Bass makes that kick, we could potentially be talking about AFC Championship game in Baltimore, or who knows, maybe Super Bowl. If we talk about, that 13-second game, we have not lost a playoff game because of Josh Allen, which I actually have is Josh Allen's first 10 playoff games. He's second in total yards, second in total touchdowns, sixth in passing yards, fifth in passing touchdowns, completion percentages, he's sixth. Rushing yards, he's first. Rushing touchdowns, he's second. Yards per carry, he's first. Turnovers, third lowest all time. And interception he's the second lowest all-time interception rate. Yeah, so this guy might be a turnover machine, but come the regular season, become playoff time, he's not. He's statistically one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the playoffs.
Watch with Brady's offense. Watch Josh Allen's passing touchdowns go up. Watch his interceptions go down. And I think he's going to flourish. Not having Diggs in that locker room, Josh can truly come out and be the voice of this football team on the field, off the field. He's got no pressure from a diva wide receiver. He's got this whole team looking up to him that respects him. Watch all of that transition to his play on the field and having the confidence. You heard Joe Brady say it. This is Josh Allen's offense. Right? It's
not Stephon Diggs' offense like how it was 2 years ago where Stephon Diggs is just as important. Sure, he was, but this is Josh Allen's offense now.
Yeah. Love it, man.
So do I.
I think that caps off the 3 phases. You got what else you got in the docket?
Yeah, I know you had a few Bills prop bets. Don't know if you
Yeah,
want to bring those
you
up.
want to hit that today? You want to hit it next week? You want to
Let's hit
tease
it
it for
today.
next week?
Oh yeah, let's tease it a little bit. We'll do 2.
Yeah, so let's so we were just talking about it. MVP odds for this year. Okay, they got our boy Josh Allen plus 890. They got Burrow ahead of him plus 860, and then they got Mahomes plus 490, shortest odds. Right behind Allen, you got Stroud at plus 910, and then the reigning champion Lamar plus 1175. I think that plus 1175 number for Lamar tells you that he shouldn't have got it last year. I don't care. I know they don't translate, but they're telling you right there that they think there's 4 other quarterbacks ahead of Lamar. And it's just, it tells you everything you know about the discussion we just had. Now, I like the value on Allen plus 890 for everything that I just told you.
I like it too. I mean, I think it's crazy they have Joe Burrow ahead of him. Joe Burrow can't stay healthy for a full year, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the betting odds, and I do like Josh Allen at that number. I think that's Josh Allen could win MVP this year.
Who's running the ball for Cincinnati? What does Cincinnati's offense look like this year? I mean,
you want to know who the running back is?
Houston. I mean,
the running back is a former Buffalo Bill, Zach Moss.
So, they grabbed Moss from Indy. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Did he have good numbers last year out of necessity in Indy? Or, how are those numbers going to look behind a Cincinnati offensive line, not an Indy offensive line? And Joe Burrow slinging the ball. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, with that offensive line, I mean, Zach Moss did have 794 yards last year with 5 touchdowns, average 4.3 yards a carry. But now you're not behind an Indy O-line with Quentin Nelson. You're behind a Bengals offensive line, which led to Joe Burrow getting hurt the last several years. Their offensive line historically has
exactly. Yes.
That line has not been historically good in the Joe Burrow era. So
exactly. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, and Zach Moss coming out of nowhere last year, for especially, I'm sure, are the fantasy guys. I'm sure people that picked him up and got him when Jonathan Taylor held out, was hurt, held out, probably a combination. I think everyone thought it was going to be Deion Jackson. Then here comes Zach Moss out of nowhere. And I think Bills fans were just kind of like looking from their couch every Sunday, like, where were you when you were on our team?
Right. Like, where was this guy? This guy was not making anybody make any business decisions in Buffalo. But then goes to Indy and looks good.
Like Singletary was hogging all the targets, or touches. Right. I mean, I know Singletary led the touches, but Moss had his chances. So I know we touched on it already. Indy's offensive line. I mean, I think that was Zach Moss. So yeah, I think you'll see a regression this year from Moss. And I don't know, man. I'm not high on Cincinnati this year. That division's tough.
I'm right there with you. But yeah, I do like those Josh Allen odds. I don't like Cincinnati this year, which I've never liked Cincinnati, but especially this year. I don't think they'll do anything. Maybe they'll still probably make the playoffs, but again, that division is tough. So wait and see.
If Deshaun Watson stays healthy, we got live action in this game. It's 2-1 now, Oilers. Deshaun Watson stays healthy. I mean, there's a world scenario where Cincinnati finishes 4th in that division.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's not far-fetched at all. For Cincinnati to finish
the playoffs. I mean, I can get Cincinnati to miss the playoff odds here. I mean, that's a bet that I would like. I mean, I don't know. And if I'm in love with a bet like this, go the other way. So probably take Cincinnati.
Oh boy, man!
Man,
we'll get back. You guys will bounce back for that $10,000 to $10,000 challenge.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if Draisaitl gets one more shot, I mean, we're gonna catch this huge whale bet, 10-unit whale bet. So that can get us back. But since he to miss the playoffs, plus 206. I mean, that's a wager I'm putting in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, next week we're going to cover some win totals, specifically in our division. We're going to cover division odds, Super Bowl odds, AFC Championship odds. I'm going to touch on all that, and I'm going to try and get some player prop odds for the season for the Bills, and keep looking out for our plays every day on Twitter. We put out a play of the day. We put out a bankroll builder. It's going to be a parlay with some plus 300 odds, something in that range. And then we put out a lotto play every day, plus 1,000 or more. And I think in the past 2 weeks, I think we've hit 3 of them. So come check us out, man. We're making some money.
Yes, you guys are. And thank you again, Neffy, for hopping on with me.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. No problem. And I'll see you here next week with me as well. And again, we are sponsored by Iliad Apollo, Sons of Erie, Hamburg Brewing, and Beauty Pools, here only on the Dude Champions Media Network. We'll see you Friday at 8. Again, good to be seen.
Good to be seen.
All right, good to be seen.
As you heard it from A. Will, good to be seen.